January 25th, 2021 meeting of the Rolesville Planning Board to order. Welcome everybody to something a little bit different for us. Right off the bat, I need to, I guess, start with a roll call. Confirm everybody's here. Have myself, Mark Powers. Commissioner Pierce, are you here?
Yes, I'm there.
Commissioner Schwartz.
Present.
Vice Chair Moss. I can see his video, but we'll come back around to him. Commissioner Lawrence.
Yes, I'm here.
Commissioner Cross.
Yes, I'm here.
And Commissioner Pryor.
Good evening, I'm present.
And Mr. Moss. I believe he is experiencing technical difficulties. Mr. Moss, are you back? Mr. Moss, if you can wait, if you can at least wave at the camera. I'm not sure he's even hearing us. Let's see. I am not a Zoom expert, but okay, he may be coming back in. Regardless, I believe we have a quorum. Just a question for Ms. Payton. Do I need to get a roll call for other people in attendance, non-commissioners?
You do not.
Okay, thank you. First thing on the agenda after the call to order is approval of our minutes back on November 23rd of 2020.
Frank Pierce, I so move.
For approval,
Yes, I move for approval.
Commissioner Pierce has a motion for approval. Is there a second?
That's Donnie Lawrence. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll do this by roll call once again. Mr. Pierce, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mr. Schwartz,
Aye.
Mr. Moss, if you have had any luck.
I vote aye. I'm here now. Sorry.
Mr. Lawrence,
Aye.
Mr. Cross,
Aye.
Ms. Pryor.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It is unanimous. Next item up is heading into case MA 20-01, Town Center Zoning District, to rezone properties to the new Town Center Zoning District, and UDO TA 20-02, removal of identified parcels from the Town Center Overlay Zoning District. And Julie, do you have the lead on this one?
It's actually
Chairman,
Danny.
Hey,
Danny?
Mr. As me, I get the honors of doing this one. How y'all doing, everyone, tonight? Just letting you know that Shelley is not here tonight. Normally, tonight she is preparing for a exam tomorrow. She is taking a course with the School of Government, been doing it for several weeks. And the testing is tomorrow morning. So we excused her so that she could prepare herself. And I gave her a lot of freedom today for preparation, so that's, thank Robin, our town clerk, for filling in today. And of course, she's really good at with these virtual meetings too, so it really helps for the first time to make sure we get it off right. As you've already introduced, ZMA 2101, this is a zoning map amendment to rezone 49.23 acres at several parcels on the corner of West Young Street and South Main Street that are currently zoned R1, residential R1, downtown commercial, which is a classification abbreviation of a C, downtown commercial conditional zoning, which is C-CZ, and industrial. All of that properties identified in that list of the properties and PIN numbers, some of them are 0 addresses, are going to go, proposed to go to the town center zoning district, which is the new zoning district that the planning board had recommended and the town board has approved. And the purpose of this case is to look at those properties to transfer to this district. So before you now is the location of the property. So let me use my pointer here. This is South Main Street. This is West Young, East Young. This is, of course, the intersection. All the area in red outline is the proposed boundaries of the district. As you see, it encompasses a lot of the town's property, the park, as well as the cell tower. Surrounding area is residential along beyond Young Street, and across the road is, of course, commercial on both corners, residential on the opposite side here on South Main Street, continuing all the way down to the entrance of the park. In the middle here is 2 residential residents, 2 single-family homes that are zoned residential neighborhood, plan unit, residential development here, which is Brown Court. This track and the other tracks here, of course, are vacant. They are commercially zoned. You'll see that on the zoning map. And this is, of course, the Granite Falls Swim and Athletic Facility right here. And of course, the elementary school. And of course, right here is the dialysis center, which is office and professional, with the future development of the gym facilities for volleyball that you've planning, the town board's approved the site plan. So here's the zoning map on the left is existing zoning. And as identified, these are the commercial classifications, the one industrial that's in the middle. I believe that's probably where a portion of it's probably where the old water tank was. I don't know why it's industrial, but that's my guess. And this is commercial conditional zoning, which is the old fire station, the gray building, the 2-story former fire station, which is right in here, I believe. The private property on the corner is not included in this, but the Veterans Memorial, as well as the buildings that you see on Young Street, all the way up to that last brick building, which are town property, all of that's included in this zoning. And of course, we included the park because of the sliver here to get some continuity of the surrounding area. So from the comprehensive plan, the land use on the right, you will see that the town center is designated on here. And then the park is identified as preserved open space. The difference between these 2 categories is preserved open space is restricted property that cannot be developed or will not be developed by the restrictions, which is the evidence of the park. There is land water conservation funds that was used in that park, and it has a restriction that it will forever be open space and is available for recreational use. So it cannot be developed. So we wanted to go ahead and include that with the other facilities just for continuity of surrounding areas and compatibility with development. The cell tower was included because it kind of dissects and puts it in the middle. It is also included in the town center plan when it was identified for future development. And it does not change the status of the cell tower, being in, whether it's in residential or in the town center as a cell tower, it continues as is under a special use permit authorization that's been previously granted. But all of the properties, except for the park, are in the town center, as you see here. So as we move forward, most of the property right now is single family with public buildings being used. It is located inside the town limits. The surrounding parcels are residential R1 or the downtown commercial watershed, CW. That's essentially Rolesville Furniture Site. And some of the properties are located in the town center overlay zoning district, which I'll show you which ones that are. With this change, we're going to explain what the intent of the TC district is under the UDO. It's for compact urban form of development centered around a mix of uses, residential and non-residential, with specific design and development related standards. And the town code adopted comprehensive plan identifies recommended mixed use neighborhood and includes the town center area, each with its representative and unique standards. So all of that combined means that the town center is compatible and appropriate. The properties will be rezoned to the town center district, and that will remove the need for the town center overlay district by the proposed text amendment that's included in with this to remove the identified properties from figure 1 and the UDO identifies is a map that identifies properties as included in the town center. And that's under section 7.4.31. So there's a text amendment and a zoning case with this. But they're separate actions, separate items, but you can do it in one. So here is, again, the existing zoning on the left. And on the right is identification of everything in red is the town center overlay. So we're removing these properties, and the most important thing in doing so is it's no longer necessary to have the town center overlay because we have created a more comprehensive town center zoning district, and we don't need the underlining zoning over here to conflict with it, that we get everything into one district and one set of regulations and standards and guidelines. As I said in the past, and pointed out to you that it is identified for the town center and preserve open space, and it's consistent with the Rolesville Comprehensive Plan for the town center area is this request. Thoroughfare wise, just to give you a little background, South Main Street and West Young Street are major thoroughfares. The Main Street Vision Plan identified revision of the streets and intersections for a more walkable streetscape for the town center area. Project funding for the street improvements has been approved and under design with the intent to hopefully start construction later this year or by 2022. No additional street improvements are required except as authorized by site plan approval for development of the properties in the proposed district. Everything except for Main Street Park, which is existing, nothing will be changing there. Comprehensive bike plan does identify bike lanes are included in the Main Street Vision Plan. If you haven't seen what's being worked out and discussed, and there was a recent survey, you can go to the town's website on the Main Street and keep up with the improvements that are coming through the Main Street Vision Plan implementation. So in results, planning staff find the request reasonable and in public interest, is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the future land use map, and recommends approval of MA 2101 Town Center Zoning District as presented. Is there any questions that I can answer from the members?
Hey, Danny, could you go back to the, I didn't see it in our slides or on the website, that right there where, so everything in this, I don't know, red or burgundy, that's going to be considered the town center zoning, and that looks like it's including Rolesville Furniture. Is that correct?
It is not including Rolesville Furniture. This is the location of Rolesville Furniture right here. And the private property right here. So all of these
Okay.
will remain, and we're not repealing the town center overlay or the downtown commercial district at this time. So other properties outside of the delineated black line there will not change at this time. It will be more comprehensively addressed later this year with the land development ordinance and a new zoning map.
Okay, so I'm just questioning, why is Rolesville Furniture highlighted? It's just the property, but not actual business of Rolesville Furniture, is what you're saying, or?
Are you referring to this on the left?
Yes, on the right, yeah.
That
there you
is
go.
in a watershed and has a different watershed classification. We're doing away, when we get to the
Oh.
LDO, we're changing all the watersheds to an overlay. And then there will be a base zoning. So our intent here, for an example of Rolesville Furniture, is it will eventually become part of the town center zoning district later. And there will be an overlay to impose the Little River drinking water supply watershed WS2 requirements. It won't
Okay.
change what they're being treated, but it's just going to be a different way of approaching the regulations. And the purpose
Okay,
of that is that I'm sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
It's okay. Just to wrap it up, the intent here is that we're going to have the overlay district to address the watersheds. There won't be the need to have different watershed zoning classifications, residential, commercial, industrial, manufactured home, et cetera, because the overlay will apply additional requirements regardless of what the zoning is under it. So go ahead and answer any questions, sir.
So then this puts Rolesville Fire Department, the Rolesville, Wake County EMS building, all this on this other side is all part of the town center zoning now too, right?
No, sir. No, sir.
This-
Only the black line, which is this area right here,
Okay,
will be taken out of this area here, will be taken out of those zoning classifications, and this area will be taken out of the overlay. The private property, all the properties include the fire station that you identified, Rolesville Furniture, and the town's property on the other side will remain there at this time in the overlay and with the current zoning, which is residential, commercial watershed, and downtown commercial.
gotcha,
Those are
okay.
not changed.
Thank you, that's good clarification, okay. And I guess, and that's probably something for another discussion, but the cutout for the privet insurance, right there, I guess there's no way to clear that up that's between them and the developer, I guess, to try to make that property, to kind of square that property off on the corner, right? I mean, there's
Yes.
nothing we can do as a planning board.
First of all, except for the south tower, everything else is town property. Private property is not town property, so we're not petitioning there. They could petition if they wish to voluntarily go to this district, or they can wait until later this year, around the summer, around July, that we will be doing so, and of course, get in touch with them, get their consent to it. With the expansion of the town center district.
So they could petition to go into the town center zoning district, correct?
Anytime between now and the time that the LDO is adopted.
Gotcha, okay.
But there's no rush, to be honest with you.
No,
But
just good.
wait and get it handled with later this summer.
Okay. So I guess one other quick thing, there's no entrance or anything coming in off Granite Falls Boulevard to that property. It's just all that property that goes from Main Street all the way back is just gonna be vacant property that can never be developed, as you said, right? You had a picture of it in green
Let me go
earlier.
back to the,
Yeah,
this is
there you
all,
go.
this is the Main Street part, and including
Yep.
this corner and of course the trailhead right there.
Yep,
That gives you access to the trails, the greenway trails. But that's there will be no development of this property because it's all restricted by restricted covenants and agreement with the town and this federal government to the money they receive to help pay for it and develop it.
right, okay, good. Thank you.
Now, this property here is all part of the town, and all these little fragmented properties wrapping around the Privet building are all the town. which you are aware of, is negotiation going on as right now of a transfer and development of that site coming up. That's going to be following the town center guidelines.
Okay, thank you.
Danny,
again-
this,
Go ahead, Frank. Sorry.
I'm sorry to butt in, but I'm just curious, how they gonna serve this area with sewer?
That is, there'll be sewer to the front, predominantly all of the area right in here, going over to Main Street. There's gravity in Main Street. Starts right here in front of the Privet Building going south.
Yes,
So they're not going back into this area. And of course, this is the park, this is the cell
Right.
tower. And there was a point here that they had a difficulty of getting sewer without having to run a line back this direction, and they're probably going to leave it as open space. But they are going to be putting a building in here as they develop. But they will have extend water and sewer from South Main Street to get to the site.
okay, thank you.
And Danny, this is Mike Moss. If, will there be any type of overlay for the park area, or that just show up as town center zoning and have the deed restrictions on it?
With the town center district, there is not a need of any overlay.
Okay.
Everything is incorporated in the town center zoning classification. The deed restrictions that apply will not supersede anything the town ordinance has, in that it will limit that site to be for recreation only and open space. And it is for perpetuity.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, it would almost take an act of Congress to undo that.
Any other questions? Well, if there are no further questions, the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. I'm not hearing any further discussion. I make a motion to recommend of the town board of commissioners approval of the map amendment 21-01 to rezone the parcels identified along the 100 blocks of South Main Street and West Young Street from residential 1 R1 downtown commercial C downtown commercial conditional zoning C-CZ and industrial I zoning districts to the town center TC zoning district. The petition is reasonable and in the public interest. It is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, future land use map that classifies these parcels for the town center or preserved open space use. Included in this motion is to recommend to the town of commissioners approval of UDO TA 21-02 removal of the identified parcels from the town center overlay zoning district. This request is reasonable and in the public interest and is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan recommendations for the town center area.
We have a motion from Mr. Moss to forward the cases to the town board with a recommendation for approval. Is there a second?
Frank Pierce here, I will second the motion.
And we have a second from Mr. Pierce. Going in the other direction this time, Ms. Pryor, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Pryor votes aye. Mr. Cross,
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence,
Aye.
Mr. Moss,
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz,
Aye.
and Mr. Pierce.
Aye,
And the ayes have it. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, sir.
Next up is case MA 21-02, the town of Rolesville property at 11624 Louisburg Road to be rezoned.
All right, this is Julie Spriggs speaking, and I am taking this case. In your packet, you have the memo that goes along with this case and a couple of maps. And what you're going to be looking at one of the maps is that the residential 40 watershed district is established to provide water quality protection and the drainage basin of the public water supply. So what we're going to be seeing is the map of the parcel in question, which is 11624 Louisburg Road. And it's a rather large tract. It's over 100 acres. It is located in the watershed entirely for Wake County. It is currently zoned R40 watershed for the county, and the proposed zoning is R40 watershed for the town of Rolesville. So we're going to keep the zoning consistent with what it is because we are wanting to protect that area. Next slide, please. I think that's just about it for the background. So,
Julie,
sure.
You forgot to mention that this was recently annexed into the town of Rolesville.
I did. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
Annexation case 20-07 was just passed on January 5th of 2021. The annexation hearing and approval means that we have to rezone this property within 60 days. And that is why you're seeing the map amendment in front of you today. With it being recently annexed, we do have to change the zoning over from county zoning to Rolesville's zoning classifications. For the current land use and existing conditions, it is currently listed as a single family and agricultural uses from the Wake County website. It is located now inside the town limits, but several months ago was located outside the ETJ. We did the annexation as a non-contiguous annexation, although it is sort of contiguous because we had a bill, a legislature had passed that the 401 highway that goes alongside the property is included in town limits. But since you do not use right-of-way for annexation purposes, we did do the annexation as a non-contiguous. So now it is outside. It was outside the ETJ. It is now inside town limits. Again, it was previously zoned Wake County Residential 40 Watershed, which is R40W, and all the surrounding parcels are also Wake County Residential 40 Watershed, which is R40W. Now, there is frontage on the property, as you saw, on Louisburg Road, and the ordinance states that the intent for this parcel is to protect the watershed, the water supply watershed. For this parcel, there's no neighborhood meeting and no TIA as part of this. It is town-owned property, and it is a town-initiated rezoning because of that annexation. So next slide, please. I think that is. We'll wait for it to pop up.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
It's okay. It's all right. I know
I got
takes a little
such right
turn.
here.
It's all right. It takes a little time on the screen to turn anyway.
No apology. Michelle Midley, I think, is trying to get in. I didn't want to interrupt, but I think
Okay.
I want to check to see if she can get in. Go ahead.
All right. For the community transportation plan and the bicycle plan, we looked at these together. We normally look at all the plans and policies as we're rezoning to make sure it fits with the area and what the vision of the board is. So Louisburg Road is a major thoroughfare. There is community transportation plan calling for the 4-lane landscape median road, and no additional street improvements are required except as authorized by a site plan approval for development of the property. At this time, we do not have a site plan submitted, but one is forthcoming as this site is slated for the new park. I don't know when that time frame is, but when we get to that, as part of town business and part of the site plan approval process, we will be looking at the transportation impacts and seeing where ingress and egress needs to be. The comprehensive bicycle plan, the bike lanes are not included for the highway, and the bicycle plan did not include land this far out. Next slide, please. So the comprehensive plan does identify the area as a water supply watershed and it is low density residential. I made a mistake in the memo in your motion. So when you come to the motion, if you do read from the motion that was suggested, where I say that the area is identified as medium density residential, that is a mistake. It is identified as low density residential as it is part of the water supply watershed. Next slide, please. So planning staff finds the request reasonable in the public interest and is consistent with the comprehensive plan as we're keeping it as part of the water supply watershed and the future land use map as we are keeping that zoning consistent from the Wake County R40W to the Rolesville R40W. And we recommend approval of MA 20-02 Rolesville Town Property, the 11624 Louisburg Road as presented. Any questions?
Board, if there are no questions, the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, here no further conversation. Frank Pierce, that I would like to make a motion at this time.
Please do, Mr. Pierce.
I move we recommend approval of MA 21-02 to the Town Board of Commissioners to rezone 11624 Louisburg Road from Wake County Residential 40 Watershed Zoning District to Rolesville Residential 40 Watershed Zoning District. The petition is reasonable and in the public interest and consistent with the town's comprehensive plan and future land use map, which identifies this area as low density residential.
There's a motion for recommending approval of MA 21-02. Is there a second?
Davian Cross, second.
Mr. Cross has seconded. Mr. Moss, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence,
Aye.
Mr. Cross,
Aye.
Ms. Pryor,
Aye.
Mr. Pierce,
Aye.
and last but definitely not least, Mr. Schwartz.
Aye.
Once again, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
When would this go to the board for the next step?
Both of these cases, the town center rezoning as well as the town property case, will go to the town board on February 2nd. They've already scheduled a hearing on it.
That's going to be a busy night.
Yes, it will be.
On to the next agenda item for the evening. Case UDO TA 21-01, change special use districts to conditional zoning districts. Danny, I believe you have the floor for this one.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I do. Let me give you a little background on this case and why we're doing this. This proposed text amendment is to address North Carolina General Statutes 160D-703A1 that will go into effect July 1st of 2021. But there is a provision in the bill that enacted the change for 160D to go effective for July 1st under section 2.9B that says that the authority to have special use zoning district is now prohibited. The only authority in the future is to have conditional zoning districts. And this particular section went into effect April 1st of 2021, New Year's this month. That says we need to convert or change all of our special use districts to conditional zoning districts. And they will from now on be only conditional zoning districts and of course, general use districts in the ordinance. So into doing the transition and go ahead and get this addressed before we head to the UDO and the fact that the section 2.9B went into effect on January 1, it is now desirable to go ahead and amend the UDO to remove all the provisions of the special use zoning district, transfer all of any conditions that were enacted in those districts through special use permits will now go under as special use permits. And it's kind of odd, that's the way it labels it in that section 2.9B for conditional zoning maps, conditional zoning districts, excuse me. And we will be relabeling or renaming all of the districts to conditional zoning. It will not change the base zoning of the land use. So if you look at the amendment, you will see a table that says special use districts changing to conditional zoning districts. It lists every single districts in the UDO. Not all of these districts are mapped, but they are identified for the purpose to comply with the law. And that's in section 1 of the amendment. Section 2 removes the special use permit districts in its entirety from the section of the ordinance. And then also a provision dealing with correspondent under the Article 5, under section 5.3, which identifies the special use districts and the process of approval. And then last, Article 4 in the amendment specifically says we go and relabel all of the special use all the special use permits that existed that applied to those districts will continue as conditions to the particular zoning district. So let me show a map. All the purple is the conditional zoning districts of Rolesville. Now, these are different classifications. They're not all one district. There's residential, there's commercial, and there is industrial, and even residential manufactured home districts as conditional zoning. But all of the ones here in purple will be relabeled to conditional zoning to comply with that legislative law. So the staff finds the request reasonable in the public interest, is consistent with the comprehensive plan that authorizes us to be sure to stay consistency with changes of legislation, and recommend approval of UDOTA 2101, change all special use districts to conditional zoning district as presented. Any questions?
Questions, comments from the board?
Yeah, I just had one question. This is Commissioner Pryor. With the change from the special use district to the conditional zone, just for my clarity, what are the major change that's going to occur? Like what would either lose or what will gain based on the differences?
In summary, in simple words, all we're doing is a label change.
Okay.
It's a simpler way of saying it, but those 3 sections carry out the actual steps, and taking out the special use district from the code. They will no longer be listed.
Okay, thank you.
But it will not affect any development approvals, any rights to development, but they will not have to go through a special use permit unless that district specifically lists that use to have one.
So are you saying the ones that are already have the special use as part of their permit, or are you saying it will add a permit, or will it take it away?
It will not add a permit unless the zoning classification, let's say R1. In
Okay.
R1, you got permitted uses and you got special use permit uses.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's a special use classification is the only time you have to go through that process.
Okay.
The conditional zoning, as you'll see it in the future, is when you go through a legislative process, will allow you to go put conditions on it. That's such things as setbacks, limit some of the uses or prohibit some of the uses, or additional requirements above that's voluntarily offered by the applicant. But it is not a quasi-judicial special use permit process, which again, we're following 160D. They're trying to simplify all that. And to keep from this issue being confused with all the other things that'll be going on with the new LDO to comply with 160D and the rewrite, we'll go ahead and address these and get these transformed. But the average citizen will not realize any significant change other than they will not have to go through a special use permit. which we could not do. We technically could not do that today. Us under SUD districts. So we're just cleaning up the code and the map.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. That was the same question I had too as well. Thank you for clarifying.
Hope I answered everything you need.
Mhm.
Well, if there are no further questions, we could accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, it's Donnie Lawrence. I'd go ahead and make a motion if there's no other questions or discussions.
Please do.
Okay, I'll make a motion to favorably recommend to the Town Board of Commissioners to approve the requested UDO text amendment 21-01, changing all special use zoning districts, SUD, to conditional zoning districts, CZ. The request is consistent with the Rolesville Comprehensive Plan to update the Unified Development Ordinance and official zoning map to change all special use zoning districts to conditional zoning districts as required in NC Chapter 160D, Article 7, Section 160D-703, A1, and Session Bill 2019-11, Section 2.9B.
There is a motion for favorable recommendation for UDO case TA 21-01. Is there a second?
This is Commissioner Pryor. I second that motion.
We have a second from Commissioner Pryor. Commissioners, please indicate your vote. Mr. Schwartz,
Aye.
Mr. Pierce,
Aye.
Ms. Pryor,
Aye.
Mr. Cross,
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence,
Aye.
and Mr. Moss.
Aye.
The motion is approved. Thank you. Danny, would this one also be on the second?
This one will have to be scheduled, but no, it will not be on the second. It will most likely have to be in March. We'll have to request it at the next meeting to get scheduled.
Okay. Next item up on the agenda is the planning director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things. I think you have been communicated by email and other means that there is the virtual special meeting starting at 9 a.m. on Friday on February 26th. This is going to be a work session of the Town Board, Planning Board on the advance some of the provisions of the draft land development ordinance for you to go over with the consultant and staff. It is an all-day meeting. It is virtual. Hoping that as many members of the planning board can participate in that as possible, but this is something that you'll be asked to recommend. The other is the development activity report. This is the monthly report that's in your packet. I do have one other thing to point out to everyone if there's any questions on the other two items. Okay, I don't hear any. So last thing is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I do have this. It's actually Friday, February 29th, correct? Not 26th.
Did I say 20? I did put 26 on there. I apologize. It should be 29.
That's okay. I'll just double check and make sure. Okay.
Thank you. I did typo error. I got to make sure it's correct. Thank you.
No,
Laura.
there's no 29 in February.
26.
It's
26.
February
Oh, I'm sorry.
26th.
It is
Sorry, I'm a
26.
month
Okay,
ahead.
that's
Yeah.
right. This is not leap year.
Yeah. No,
Escape
my fault.
2020.
Yeah, I was looking at this Friday, January 29th. I apologize.
It's all
Sorry
right.
about
You have a couple of weeks to prepare for this one.
All right. Last thing, as planning director, I don't know if everybody knows, but I have announced my retirement. I've been here, starting Saturday, I've been here 4 years. And I am eligible for full benefits through the local government retirement system, and I have decided to go ahead and exercise that. So I will be here as planning director till March 26th. and will be my last day. You may have noticed on the website and seen some press releases or news blasts that the town is now actively looking for a new planning director. So I will be here. I don't know if the new director will be here in time before I leave, but hopefully he or she will be here for at least I can get a week or two with them. But I want to go ahead and let you as board members know that I have planning to leave the town.
Congratulations, Danny.
Congratulations, sir.
Yeah, thank you. It's time to go into the green pastures and look after the grandkids.
Yeah, if there's one thing we've learned over the past year is life can be very short. You need to try to enjoy it as much as you can.
Thank you. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I do not believe the town attorney joined us, but the town attorney's report is up next.
I'm not aware of anything from him, and I'm not aware of why he was not on today, but it's not necessarily has to be.
Any other business out there? I'm going to take this opportunity just to recognize and welcome Town Commissioner Medley joining us and listening in.
I'm sorry, I had an MRI and I did not know they take that
Oh,
long.
no
Yeah.
problem. No problem.
So thank you for letting me in, whoever let me in.
That was
And I will
Robin.
be contacting you, Danny, tomorrow, and Julie, for all that I missed. So I do apologize for missing it.
Any other business? Anything from the board? Well, not hearing anything. We could consider a motion for agenda item number 9, adjournment.
It's Donnie Lawrence. I'll go ahead and make a motion. We adjourn.
We have a motion for adjournment. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Schwartz.
Say that again.
I will second that, and this is Schwartz, Jim Schwartz.
Okay, Mr. Schwartz seconds it. Mr. Pierce, how do you vote on adjournment?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz,
Aye.
Mr. Moss,
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence,
Aye.
Mr. Cross,
Aye.
and Ms. Pryor.
Aye.
Well, surprise, surprise. No nays. We are adjourned. Thank you for everybody. And thank you for the patience of learning to work with this technology in a formal meeting setting.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody have a good night.
Everyone have a
Great
good
week.
evening.